pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone, for showing up tonight's meeting. Becky, you want to do roll call for us?
Yes, sir. Chair?
Here.
C4?
Present.
C2?
President accounting appointment.
C1, Jenny Alvarez is not here presently. District Attorney?
Here.
District Engineer?
Here.
District Treasurer?
Here.
District Manager?
Here.
Present for except for, and there is going to be an amendment to the agenda.
I don't come down here for this shit.
Yeah, when you get, Mr. Chair, when you get to
Yes.
approval of the meeting agenda,
Okay,
it says there are additions, deletions, and substitutions.
correct.
I would ask that we're going to add we have two resolutions.
Okay,
One resolution is adopting final FY 2020 budget. And the second resolution is adopting an amendment to the final budget. So we previously adopted the final budget. We just need to have a resolution as a paper trail for that adoption. And then on the second one, the treasurer, whenever you're ready, can talk about the amendment to the final budget. So I think I would just recommend you have a vote to amend the agenda to add those two resolutions.
okay.
And then once we do that, we can jump in.
All right, so you might want to help me there because I
Sure.
believe we're at to the approval of the meeting agenda. And the first one is additions, deletions, substitutions of the agenda items. So we want to add these two resolutions. One is amending for the final budget and the other one is for the 2020 budget.
Yes, sir, exactly. So,
Your agenda, your packet?
In my packet?
Thank you.
here, take mine.
You didn't give me a packet.
I have an extra.
You give it to me loose? Oh, no, I don't want to. You give it to me loose for this meeting? This is last meeting.
John, do we need to,
Oh, this
It was
we
just
need to vote
your,
on it?
Ah,
like I always do.
okay, that's why I thought
Yes, but
it
this
was
is
last meeting.
So if either Mr. Napoli and Ms. Miller could move to amend the agenda to add the two resolutions, we can,
I moved to add the agenda, to add the resolution to the agenda.
yes, exactly.
I second that.
Second.
Well, so all in favor?
Aye.
Great. So that's now, so those two resolutions are on the agenda whenever you're ready to get to the regular agenda.
Okay. So then we have the adoption, we've done that one, right?
Okay.
How about the, okay, so do we have it?
Got the meeting minutes?
Yes, I'm doing that right now. So for the last meeting, the approval meeting minutes for the actual, for the annual meeting minutes and organization/regular meeting minutes for October 19th, 2019. Anybody have any questions or want to approve it? Motion to approve?
I motion to approve it.
All right. Second?
Second.
I second.
All right. All in favor, aye? So
Aye.
that's approved.
Aye.
Moving forward,
I'll read it later.
anything else on section number 2, John? Or can we
No,
move on?
that's it.
Okay. Do we have any public comments by any chance? Any public comments at this time? Okay. If you do, just grab a paper and we can fit you in as much as possible. All right, we're going to the, before we get to the regular meeting minutes, I'd like to bring with planning and zoning from Henry County, Margaret Emlich, would that be okay? So she
Yeah,
can discuss?
And just because she was good enough to be here,
Yeah.
that's item 6A, but we can go ahead and move that up.
Yes,
Have
please.
her- She has other places to spend her evening.
Exactly. Margaret, would you like to address it, please?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Good evening. Thank you for coming out. The agenda item that they wanted me to cover tonight was the Land Development Code amendment that was recently approved and adopted and the ordinance has been recorded that specifically eliminates agriculture commercial uses for Montour Estates, all property that is zoned rural residential farm. And that, as you all know, was a coordinated effort with Central County, the community, and Hendry County to adopt that. Now, and as you probably have heard, we are also have embarked on a land use study for Montour. We had our first meeting this past Saturday, and our next meeting isn't until January 25th. And the reason for that is that we will be conducting an initial assessment of the existing conditions of the community. We need to have that information in order to then start making recommendations and having discussions with the community on what types of uses and the location of those uses would make sense for your community so that you have a proper mix of uses like commercial, maybe and civic and recreational and the like. In the meantime, we're also asking for you all to fill out a survey. We have many alternatives on how you can fill that out for us. We have an online portal that would get you to be able to fill it out automatically online. We also have copies, hard copies here at Central County Water Control District office, and at any time, we have some tonight. Otherwise, you can come and visit with Becky and she'll provide them. And once you fill them out, you can either bring them back to Central County, and they will get them to me at my office in LaBelle. And our goal is to have all of the input from the community on the surveys and are done by no later than the middle of January, where we're saying January 15th. I know that there was some discussion of having them done by the middle of December, but we would be able to accept them up till January 15th. And I really hope to hear from everybody here and anybody that's listening, and please let your neighbors and know about this and ask them to participate, because it's really important for us to get the input from the community so that we can work through this effort. The entire effort will take us through probably about the middle of summer. It takes time to get through, and we'll have a number of meetings with the community, and then we will have public hearings to pursue any changes that result from the land use study. Do you have any questions?
I do.
Yes.
Could I have a copy of the survey? I did mine already.
You
get it, me?
You have the copies I made you.
Yes.
This?
No. It's in a paper clip.
Okay. Margaret, I find that some of these questions are very general. Let's take number 8, where it's asking the land use for, that should be encouraged, and you give as an example, single family, mobile homes, residential, other, I'm assuming it's a building, an apartment building or whatever. Does that really influence the development of our community? Are you looking forward to see how many people would like to see mobile homes instead of concrete homes, or
If I may,
go ahead.
the purpose of how the survey was laid out was for folks to be able to indicate what types of residential uses they would prefer to see in the community.
Right.
And so you have a list of different types, and you can put down whether you like them or don't want to see them. And we have the other, that if there's some other type, maybe it's a duplex, maybe it's an apartment.
Right. But do the numbers matter? I'm asking you this because that's going to be asked of me. Let's say you get 800 people that said single-family homes in the survey, instead of mobile homes, right? does that influence the decision of the development of Montura to the extent that exactly what's on the paper is gonna be done? Because I know that that question is going to be placed, it's going to be asked of me.
Yeah, we will be taking what the majority of the answers are and presenting that to the community on, for example, if we had 300 surveys that were submitted, which I'm just using that number, and 250 folks said that they didn't like mobile homes, okay? Well, we would add that to our report of what the results of the survey would be, and we'd have a discussion with the community in that, you know, is this something that you want to phase out, or is this something you want to promote for the community? And just like if you wanted a duplex, it would be the same thing. So we look at what the majority would, I'll say, want, and what the majority doesn't want. And again, we put all that information together, and then we have some discussion with the community to try to come to as much of a consensus as possible. We're not going to get everybody to agree to everything, and we know that, and that's part of a land use study, is to look at what the majority is wanting for their future, the community.
Is this company that was hired by the commissioners, or I would say the county, will they present what they think outside of this? Will they present a model of what they see here, that's what they do for a living, of what they think should be here in Montura, so that we could compare to what we've asked?
What we discussed at the meeting on Saturday was what the purpose of a land use study is, and that's what you're talking about, is being able to establish what types of services or uses that the community wants to see in the future. And in this case, we're at a situation where you don't have a lot of services, and what we're suggesting with the planning group that we hired and myself, we are suggesting that for a community this size, you need to have certain services in the community. And so that's why we have the survey on what types of things you want to see in the community, and then we'll start talking about what makes sense on where they should be located. So this is going to be a back and forth with recommendations from professional planners, and also with the input and the desires of the community.
So one thing also that I see, there might be a fear of, because there's a lot of, I have a CBS house, but I'm not against manufactured home, mobile homes, whatever. There might be a fear in the community that, hey, you know, this is going to phase us out. I don't believe that's going to happen. And us as a board, we're going to try to protect that as much as possible. So again, that's a good question, but that should not be the fear or concern of the people in our community.
And I had to use an example, and it just happened to be that one.
No, I appreciate it. Good question.
Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
For the survey, is it one person per property? Or like say if you're a married couple, can both of you fill out the survey for the same address?
Yes, it's not per address, it's per person who lives in the community. All right?
And my other question is kind of on Denise's, is the things, this survey, is it going to be implemented? Is that what's happening? Is that what this survey's about?
Yeah, I wouldn't use the term implemented. It'll be used to determine what the majority of the respondents feel are that they want to
So the majority of what
see.
comes back from your survey,
Yes.
that's what you are probably going to implement here in Montour?
That's likely what we're going to recommend that we
Some
consider.
changes coming, right? I'm just saying, I think a lot of residents are gonna be afraid too, that when they do this survey, and they're gonna be afraid of the survey because they're gonna think it's gonna all be implemented and it's their way of life's gonna change here. And the reasons they moved here was rural,
And that's why.
peace and quiet, nothing here, they prefer to ride to town.
And those are the kinds of things you need to put on the survey, that's what you want. I mean, you don't have
no,
to
I-
say that
yeah.
you want commercial if you don't. I mean, it's just, you need to put in there what you're looking for. Yeah, right. And anyway, so it's, The best way I can explain is that we not only, it's not just the minority per se, it's really a lot of input. And that's why we have a number of meetings scheduled, January, February, April, I think it is, and then we'll probably end up having another one like we've done before, because we didn't feel like we were there yet. And then eventually get to public hearings, which everybody has a input at those, and so on. But I'll be honest with you, yeah, you're right, not everybody's gonna be happy.
I think people, it's fearful for a lot of people, their way of life is going to change. A lot of people here have, do whatever they want, and that's why I'm asking you, you're going to implement this, whatever comes out of this survey.
There will be new
Change.
regulations that come up.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And that's why it's important that we get the input from everybody
Right.
and to figure out what makes sense for the community.
Right.
At the same time, as professional planners, we understand that there's certain services and certain types of uses that that when you get to the point of build out with an 8,000 acre community like this, you're going to need certain things. It could be schools, it could be, hospital or a
Medical center,
something like that.
Urgent care.
These,
something close.
just these services, and in addition to that, some neighborhood commercial. All the types of things that you're going elsewhere for
Right.
will eventually make sense based on the total population that'll end up being here.
That gives me another question then. When we talk about commercial, would it be that they would be designated to a specific area here in Montora, not thrown in with all the homes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That
Because that's also
that's a
here,
main part of land use planning, is
Okay.
determining what uses belong in the right
Like
location.
833 right now is commercial.
Not all of it.
Not all of it, some's residential, some's commercial. But I'm just thinking
Yes, that's a good example.
Right.
It's main streets or
Right.
streets that are improved corners.
right,
And that, and then if you are adjacent to residential, then we look at requiring setbacks and buffering that would minimize any impacts that could occur.
right.
Could I also ask, piggyback on that? Would that be an opportunity for the board at that time when more commercial buildings come into Montora to have a different tax bracket for the commercial than the one that we have now where everybody has the same tax?
That's not something we would change. And that's a county-wide.
You're gonna change it?
No, we can't.
Oh, we can.
How we tax here in
No.
this district, we can't.
Will that help us, will the commercial areas that
Of
come in
course.
here help us tax-wise? Help the
It
residents,
should.
maybe so our taxes maybe don't have to come, so they're bringing in revenue?
They're making money, so we should make a little bit more than a residential.
John, I got a
Yeah,
question.
remember, and I
I
don't
know.
know why,
I
we
know
don't
what you're
have
gonna
ad
say.
valorem, it's a
Well,
flat fee.
Can we not, I thought we could change that.
The commercial
Oh,
part.
sure, you can
So,
change
That's what
so,
I asked.
with what's commercial, we can change the way we tax.
So ad valorem,
Get our-
the Latin term is based on value.
Right.
So, yes, so if if someone builds $1 million house under ad valorem tax, they pay more. 'cause
Right,
they gotta,
well, yeah,
you know.
that's pretty much how it is.
Unfortunately, this district has essentially a flat fee tax.
Right.
So if you have $1 million house or a $5,000 trailer, you pay the exact same amount.
And that's for your district.
Yeah, that's
Right,
for
right.
us.
Not
Yeah.
for the property
But we
tax.
could
The
change,
county is ad
We can
valorem, so
change
it's
that.
based
we
on.
could change that for the commercial.
But
Yes,
their
you
tax,
can.
it
Here.
can help our area
That's what I'm
prosper, bringing in commercial. It
Sure.
helps our area in Montora prosper, we prosper, because their taxes can be higher, not the flat rate that we pay as a resident.
Right.
Up as well.
I agree.
That's good things.
I've already got a couple of board members that have a question.
I just want to say that all I was ever after was to stop these fish farms. I don't want a bunch of stores in here, I don't want a bunch of people in here. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to stop that. Growth is not what most people out here are after. They like this quiet area like it is. Yes, we have to we have to set aside some areas for commercial. It's going to happen. And you said something that sticks with me is we're gonna change, our life is fixing to change whether we like it or not.
It's
It
scary.
doesn't matter, it's
A
gonna
lot of
change.
us moved here
Yes.
for peace and quiet. I moved from an association where I don't want any
Right,
of that.
right.
I like why I live here.
And
And a
we-
lot of other people do too, and they're scared now. They believe this change is coming no
Well,
matter what.
let me tell you though, look at Loxahatchee. The steamroller's coming.
Oh, yeah,
Either
exactly.
you get out of the way of it and kind of roll with it, or you're gonna get run over. It's
Right.
going to happen.
So try
So let's
to
be part of that
participate,
change.
right, to
Right.
participate. in
Get
it.
all the say we can get, but
Right.
I'll tell you, I am against all this growth, always have been. I would like this community to stay like it is. I'd like to go back 15 years and stay like it was until the day I die. It's not gonna happen.
Right.
Right. Well, but we could limit the amount of commerce coming
Yes,
in.
yes, we can.
We can.
I hope.
And it's
where
better.
it is.
Right, and wherever it is, yes, definitely.
That's one of the.
Let's make them as commercial areas. And we could also control the amount of doctors coming in, supermarket, we could say no, because we have two that have been here for years
Yeah.
in this community, so maybe we could limit another supermarket coming in.
Well-
I don't know. I don't know the law. But,
It would be based on square footage of certain types of commercial. And it's not, it wouldn't be based on, you can only have 5,000 square feet of a supermarket. It would be 5,000 square feet of, I'll call it neighborhood commercial, that serves the community, that level of commercial. Those are the approaches that you would take, that you have X number of thousands of square feet
Right.
of commercial. They can go in these certain areas,
Mhm.
and the list of types of uses would be several types of uses, because you have to have that in order to accommodate the market on what the market's gonna bring. Your uses, commercial uses, are only gonna come here based on a certain number of rooftops that are there, and whether there's enough here to support them, support their business.
Correct.
And so, like a Publix isn't gonna come here
right,
because, not until you're probably built out would they even think about it, because of the number of folks that are, yes.
We don't want to.
And, but that's okay. That's,
and also, I'm sorry, Louis? Go ahead. I have no questions, go ahead.
When it comes to business and taxes and all that, I just want this board to know, I requested a record from the accounting office.
Okay.
Because I'll be signing a lot of checks
Okay.
for transfer, something most of you guys don't see. It's only, what, 2 signatures, correct me if I'm wrong? It's only 2 signatures in the savings account. So I'll be signing a lot of checks. And I want this board to know, we're over $1 million tapping into our savings account.
Yep.
So that number, the savings that we have are going down fast.
We said that.
Yeah,
Correct.
we have been discussing that. We're aware of it.
We said that.
So we need to change
No,
our
but
tax
I
base,
wanted,
everything
I
we do.
wanted it in black and white.
Oh, yeah.
And I got it in black and white. So if commercial properties is gonna alleviate the tax burden of this community.
Not if we don't
or-
change our tax, the way we taxes on it.
All right, so eventually, we're gonna have to allow the attorney to make the changes necessary before we go flat broke and Henry County comes and takes over.
They don't want this place.
Well, no, if we run out of money,
wait a minute, wait a
if we
minute.
run
We
out of
already
money.
have this place. What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
you do, you have all our taxes and very little service that we get.
Yeah.
Why would you want to change it? Y'all are in the catbird seat. I
But
want that
that's
for
what's
the
gonna
record.
happen. If we run out of money, all right, Henry County would have to take over by law.
And that's why, and you make a great point, Louis, and I think we said that, and from the public's view as well, the people that live here and all of us live here as well, is there's certain services that we have to provide as a community. And also, as you well said, we have to make a gut check sooner or later to say, hey, you know what? If you want your roads right, if you want your drainage right, if you want all that right, we have to do something about the income coming in. Because everybody says this, we pay high taxes.
I'm sorry, it's not here, not Henry County, not here. Maybe in Palm Beach.
As long as this board understands that we're talking about $1 million, over $1 million in 1 year.
Yeah.
And that's why, and if you look what we've done in the last fiscal year, we've done stuff here that I've seen that should have been done many moons ago. Nobody on this board would probably say.
I understand the problem.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I understand
Yeah.
for 20 years, nobody did nothing, okay?
Well, you gotta remember something too. There's
So-
something else.
So the taxes then, either commercial or residential,
Yes, sir.
we need to address,
Will help us out,
huh?
to help us out,
To help us out, okay?
definitely.
So, if what it takes now that we're talking about this money situation that
Yes, sir.
Henry County is here, if what it takes is a motion for the attorney to start inquiring on assessing the value, because if all this property is gonna come in, Henry County is gonna make a lot of money, and yet we only gonna get $250. That's the bottom line.
We need to
If
change
it
the ad
stays as
valorem.
is, yeah,
Okay?
that's why I
So-
brought it up.
If we only get a flat rate per acre,
Yeah.
254, 200,
220.
Huh?
220. The other 45 goes to Eastern County Recreation.
$200 per property. And guys, $1 million in a year, that's a lot of money.
We've been talking about it for a whole year. We have to change our tax base.
So-
It was okay when this place was like it was 10 years ago. You could keep everything more or less,
So it's
a
a
couple of roads.
Is it
Them days are
proper-
gone. We have to change the ad valorem. And we have to go after the county for some of our money because they're taxing us to death and they're doing absolutely nothing.
Okay, so is it proper for me at this time to make a motion to allow the attorney to start inquiring of what we need to do?
I'll second it.
John, what's your take on
Is
this?
this the time to do it?
If we're talking about money,
So I can come to the next meeting and outline the steps we will need to take. This is going to be a process, it will take a year. Remember, there are 3 seats. 3 of the 5 seats are open
Yes, sir.
in November. You know, this is something that I would, it's to educate, because the point you make is a good one. You know, people can get alarmed when they don't fully understand what's going on.
Yes.
Like with this land use study, and I know there are fears about changing the character of the area. I know nobody wants to do that. We want to make sure that we don't have any unintended consequences. Same thing with this. I have a feeling it will be viewed as they're going to get more money from us, and we have to, before we do anything, we would have to bring in, there are firms that would come in and say, if you set your trim, you're at X, this is how much money. And we have to educate the people here before we get too far down the road. What's the difference between ad valorem and maintenance tax? How will they be impacted? And if we were to adopt a millage rate of X, how much would people pay?
Right.
If you have a manufactured home versus those with CBS, you know, they're gonna pay different amounts.
You're absolutely
And because I know if I lived there, how am I gonna be impacted? So we need to do some of that up front, so that people understand what's being contemplated here. I think, I mean, if my personal opinion is, the future is really tied into having an ad valorem, because it is a fairness thing. If someone has a vacant lot, they're not really asking for a lot of service. And if someone has a 6-bedroom home with 10 people living in it, they're asking for a lot of service.
Correct.
Currently, those 2 people pay the exact same amount of money.
Right.
It doesn't make a lot of sense.
But I was talking about the commercial coming into Montura only. I wasn't talking
You know,
about the regular
yeah, the
homes.
taxes is based on the value of the property.
Correct.
So you can have a $2 million house and a $500,000.
But that's not commercial. I'm talking about the commercial
If you don't
area.
tax based on use, you tax based on the value.
Oh, then that's gonna be a problem then. If you're gonna change it for everybody, that's gonna be a problem. We have to educate them.
You got 2 choices. You
I
change
said-
it or the lion's gonna eat us because
I said the commercial area only, but it,
Hold on one second, we'll go back there. So
Guys,
do we have to,
the
do we need a
motion-
motion?
The
I'll second
motion is on the floor, has been seconded. This is to inquire, not to change
Right,
anything.
No, we understand, we
But
understand.
if we don't get ready
educate
now,
ourselves.
Agreed, no, agreed.
if we don't get ready now, of course, what John is saying, I agree with it. You pay, if you got a trailer, let's suppose you pay $50. Whatever the expert says that we need. But if you own a gas station,
Yes, sir.
That's
like
commercial.
we have here, that is commercial, but they're still paying
Right,
$250.
Understand.
right.
We're clear, we're
So,
clear.
so we cannot distinguish, John, between a commercial and a residential
No, it's
area
gotta be on
with
the property
taxes?
value.
Below or not, yeah.
If you have an empty
It
lot,
happens to be that commercial areas typically have more value,
Yeah,
They pay more.
right.
but not always, but typically they do. So that's why
we
most
can't
local
do-
governments love to have a nice mix of commercial and residential, because their tax base, commercial can.
So
really
automatically,
give
if
you
it's
tax base.
commercial, they could pay more than
If the
the
value
ones.
of it is one, which is
the value is more.
Generally, it is.
typically, it is the
Yeah.
case.
So we have a motion on the floor, we have a
Yes.
second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Good point, good point.
We don't do it now, we're gonna get caught.
We already told them.
Too late.
So here's one of my concerns, and I agree, everybody has concerns. My biggest concern right now is this building should be packed out with concerned citizens.
Yes.
Because it's going to affect how we live, what we do, what we don't do. The board here is a shield. We're getting recommendations, some good recommendations hopefully, but we as citizens, we that live here, have a great opportunity to have our input. If it's gonna change, so be it, but at least I have my input, and I've had my 2 cents, and at least it's gonna be heard, and hopefully it gets adopted. But when we have no turnout, we have no surveys, then it holds us. It holds us kind of like, well, we had to do something, but we reached out to you numerous times. We even held the thing on a Saturday. Can't come here Monday through Friday because I work for a living, but Saturday, do it Saturday. So we did it Saturday. We were here. No call, no show. So those kinds of things, if we really care about our community, we have to get involved.
Some people can't make it, I couldn't, I had to.
And that's fine.
No, you can watch it online.
You can-
People need to know
Right.
that. I watched the whole
Yes.
thing
You
online.
can, but
Yes.
where there's a will, there's a way. It's like a doctor's appointment.
Yeah.
My doctor's appointment, I can't do it on Friday, I can't do it on Saturday, I can't do it on Sunday. I have to take time
It's
off.
more education.
Exactly.
Yes.
So, and again, that's a great point. So again, instead of listening to the rumor mill, come to the sources. You have a great resource right there. I'm pretty transparent with everything that I know. Come to the right people to get the right message instead of hearing the twisted version, so we have something to talk about in our community to the next meeting. Let's get the facts before we blow up in social media these wrong ideas, because nobody's trying to do the wrong thing here. Go ahead, Louis.
Mr. Boyd, how much money we have in savings right now? Roughly?
About $2.5 million.
So we got, if we use this figure of over $1 million, we have, let's say, 2 years if we don't get into a bind. So,
Or what we could do, Louis, is X amount of work to be done. We're spending it basically on the
we
streets.
don't miss spending any money.
Hold on one
I
second.
know we're not.
Can we table that conversation so?
Right, okay,
Commissioner
I'm
Marbury
sorry.
can-
Yes,
Any
yeah.
more questions about the zoning, and then we'll get to that, so we can.
Land use study.
The land use study, and anybody else have any comments?
Yes,
Go ahead.
I would like to find out if the majority decided they want concrete houses, what about the mobile home trailers? They wouldn't be illegal or?
Well, I'll be honest with you, I don't see that happening, but if the community was really adamant about only allowing concrete homes going forward, then anything that's existing would be grandfathered in.
Correct.
Exactly. You used to be, if I may, where I live, there's a place called Laxahatchee Groves. Same as here, acre and a quarter lots. And so 15, 20 years ago, it was like here, mostly trailers. but land values started going up and up and up. And then someone who pays, $10,000 for an acre, they're not gonna put much, but when people started paying 50, 60, 70,000 an acre, then you started seeing, they were buying the lot with the trailer and putting in a CVS block. And that had nothing to do with the zoning. That's what I think Benny and Juan are talking about. Things happen, the market changes,
Yes.
and it doesn't matter what Margaret says, it doesn't matter really the county. Once people start moving in this community and their jobs and land values start to go up, trailers will start disappearing. Because when those people that start paying more for the lots are gonna invest more in the lot. And that's something that's very difficult to control, because I have friends in Loxahatchee Groves like you. They said, I moved here because it was quiet and nobody bothered me. And I don't want my roads paved. Well, they're starting to pave roads because now the majority there are people there that paid. I mean, there's pretty expensive houses there now.
I came from Pembroke Pines, I know
So
exactly
you
what you're
know,
talking
and
about.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why I live here.
It happens.
Yeah, I had a big fancy
Took
house. I had
25
it all.
years.
Yeah, I wanted peace and quiet.
Port Stockton, Texas.
Any more questions? Any more questions? While Margaret's here?
I have I've gotten a couple of questions from residents here. They said, going now to the zoning district, that grandfather's existing commercial agriculture.
That's correct.
Okay, so let's say and I'm making this up, let's say I sell chickens. I sell 50 chickens a week. How do I document that I'm in existing use so that I don't get a code enforcement person knocking on my door a year from now saying, hey, you're commercial agriculture, you can't do it? How do they, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do, because we somewhat rely on the property appraiser, but that doesn't capture all the folks, because not everybody has pursued through the property appraiser that designation.
Right.
When the property appraiser, the criteria that they use, if you're going to be commercial ag, and then you would have to provide receipts of sales and, things that would go with a commercial business. And so there was a good question that was asked at the meeting about the language that's in the amendment. I'm sorry, it was Lewis, that was in the amendment about that you can't sell, you can breed, you can breed and the household animals, but you can't sell them commercially as a commercial organization. But you can sell them to a friend, you can sell them to somebody, but it's meant, what we changed was meant to get rid of the commercial operation. So again, in order to determine if it's commercial, they're gonna have a business license, and they're gonna have receipts for a commercial business.
And they need X amount of lots in order to be commercial.
No.
To be, I'm sorry, to be able to sell. That's why you want the receipts.
No.
You don't have to have 5 acres.
No,
Okay.
we're not.
No, I'm not talking about the future. I'm talking about as is. No.
Go ahead, Louis.
So if an individual, like me, is paying federal income tax on income, on grandfather in, correct?
No. No, we're
The
talking about,
receipts is the income that I'm
If
paying
you-
to the federal government.
no, what we're talking about is if you have a commercial business that has anything to do with agriculture operations, so whether it's, whether it's an orchard or it's a feed lot with animals or the fish farm, you would have to establish a business, and you should be paying, you should have receipts, and you should be paying certain taxes based on your commercial business. And I'll be honest with you, we're not going to, well, let me back up. We are, through our initial assessment of the community, finding out what the current conditions are, we will be looking to determine who has existing commercial agriculture operations so that we can ensure that they're grandfathered in. But we're not gonna probably catch everybody. It's gonna be a hard one to say that we will have everybody on the list, but
Is it a form that we can fill out, the residents can fill out declaring?
Does the county issue a business license?
yes, we do.
Yes, they
So
do.
that would be a requirement, I guess?
Right.
That would be
Yes.
one.
Yes.
Okay. And the rumor is that Mr. Napoli is running a puppy mill on his
Yes.
property. So
I
we
heard
would
that.
have to,
Pay, pay, pay.
Joe?
No, I got a hydroponic garden,
Nice.
Uh-oh.
and I make money, and I declare.
What you selling?
Medical grade or?
Well, regardless.
No, we need to know.
No, regardless of what I declare, federal income and my taxes.
We'll shut down the grow house tonight. We're gonna shut down the grow house tonight. Really, I am.
Yeah, you need them go, cause I need my weed.
This house is called the Happy Place.
It's just bad,
Happy Ranch.
Trying to help his insanity.
So a form that we can fill out with the county for you guys to evaluate if we should keep doing it or we should stop doing it.
Okay, well, I don't have a form, but what we would do is, like, at this point, we would ask that anybody that wants to be grandfathered in is gonna have to let us know, and they can contact us through, you know, the information that we have here for the land use study, because we need to go through the existing conditions assessment, and with that, we would wanna gather that kind of information.
Letting you know right now,
Yes?
is good enough.
No,
No, you know that ain't gonna work.
no.
So, like I say, if you don't have a form,
Well, I understand that, but what I was gonna say, you can provide us with a copy of your business license that you have with the county, and any kind of proof of receipts of your commercial sales of your, product.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
I read somewhere, okay, that if let's say a fish farm is closed,
Okay.
out of business, because of what's happening with the water and all that, that they are allowed 3 years later to come back and apply. I read it somewhere, but there's so much to read.
I think what it is you gotta
Yeah.
get the land. Go ahead.
It's,
I'll let
well,
you explain.
it becomes let's back up. If it quits operating for a year, then it would become an illegal operation. It could no longer, nobody could start it up again because you have
Correct.
now eliminated ag commercial uses. But it's that there's a 1-year window of not operating.
But I read where it said 3 years. After three,
There's something in there that has to do with that, but that's not what
That's
that's
not-
happened here. Doesn't
Okay.
apply here.
That's good. I read that as well.
you read it too?
But not like that. Not like,
And
You didn't interpret it the way I
yeah, I
did.
didn't interpret it like that.
I'm gonna find it anyways, so in the future.
Any more questions? Because Margaret is pretty sure she's ready to get home, but thank you. Anybody else? Okay.
Right. You have plenty of opportunity to contact us and with your questions, comments, everything, everybody. I mean, we really want your input, and, you know, we don't have any predisposed thoughts on, you know, what's gonna happen as a result of this. We just know what's typical for a land use study, and usually it results in the kinds of things we talked about, where you establish certain uses, location of uses, and what the community wants. And as I mentioned in the meeting as well, we just finished a land use study out in Wheeler Estates, and anybody that would like to see a copy of the regulations that they established, the results of that land use study, they they redesignated themselves to have their very own future land use category. And it only applies to their property. They also rezoned their property to our rural residential Wheeler estates, so it was very specific to them. And then they went on to create regulations specific to, and as a result of this community land use study, where it was, where the types of uses and locations and so on were put into regulations.
I would like a copy.
Yes, definitely.
I will email that to Becky
Okay, to the board.
and make it available, and actually, it's on our website still. We have, on the Hendrick County website, on the left-hand side of the first page, you see quick links. Underneath there, you'll see kind of a library list, and Montour studies there, and then I think it's right below it is the Wheeler Estates study.
Everglades.
Pardon me?
Is it also Everglades?
The Everglades study was there as well. I'm not sure if it's still there, can't remember, I'm
Still there.
sorry. But anyway, that information is there. I'll take a look at it tomorrow to make sure it's all there, but that would be a way for you to look at what we have.
Thank you.
One more thing before you go, quick.
Go ahead, Ben.
I am also concerned about certain communities coming into our community. For example, the mentally ill, organizations that will bring in homes, will buy homes and put them up for programs of mental health or drug addiction or whatever. Can we address that also in the planning? As to where we think maybe they should go, or is that against the law?
I've actually done that for some of my other governmental plans. Look, there's, so some areas, so for example, Okeechobee City is having a problem now. Sober homes are moving in because when there's affordable housing, for good or bad, you sometimes can have that. And so local governments they have tools available to regulate if, where, and how that happens. We could spend an evening talking about the federal and state laws that apply to that, but I think Montour is way far away from that. But if it ever became an issue, the county has tools.
Oh, and
Housing too?
And we also cannot regulate what the Florida statutes refers to as community group homes that are allowed to locate in any residential district. It specifically says that we are preempted from eliminating or restricting them from all
So we can't.
Well, there's certain, he's
You
talking
can't
about something
say,
else.
Right.
sober homes aren't allowed, you can't say
Okay,
that.
all right.
But you can regulate,
I
you can
just
put
want-
4 people in every room, you can,
Right.
you can,
I'm just throwing it out so that, I remember when I went to Harlem, to look at Harlem, that the commissioner took us, a group
Okay.
of people from here, from Montour, and they had lower income housing in their area, and they selected where they wanted those buildings. From what I understood, they selected where they wanted those buildings to be put. It just wasn't everywhere. The same thing as Clewiston. Clewiston has 2 or 3 blocks that are lower housing buildings. They're not one here, one over there, one next to a supermarket. They're together or they're in a certain area without discrimination.
Right.
Okay, so
Yes.
that's why I'm throwing it out so that
All right. Anything else?
Yeah, one more thing. So it's important, it's imperative that we fill this out. I've done mine.
can we help?
You can do it
the public to
online.
do it or not?
Yes. Yes.
Or paper, whatever it is. And again, like I told the Waldrop Group, I like to make sure that, like for instance, I think they said we have about 3,000 people living here. So if they have 50,000 surveys, a lot of them didn't come from Montour Ranch Estates. Let's make sure it's us. This is where we live. Let's make it the way we want it to. Not 50,000. It could be somebody 20,000 people.
And it should not be rental people that are renting a property, it should be the owner of the property.
We can't.
Can't discriminate.
Oh, you cannot,
differentiate.
oh, okay.
No, it's-
I didn't know.
That would be
All
tough.
right.
You can do that now, rent something to someone they can't.
Yeah, I think
So,
that would be tough.
well, one last statement that Denise reminded me of is that, any help that we can get with getting the word out, distributing the surveys to folks, letting them know that they can bring them here. If there's folks in the community that want to hand them out or be at the special events that occur
Right.
where people are going to be at, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Whatever you can do to
Okay.
help with that.
I agree.
I know that we've
Seek
decided
some-
we're partnering on this, and I
Okay.
appreciate any help we can get. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you for
Appreciate
sharing
you.
all that. Thank you very much.
So we're good to move into the manager's report?
Yes, sir.
We're still mowing around Montura, not as much, but we're still mowing. We're still grading roads and rebuilding roads. Somebody's still messing around with the signs. We're still picking up signs that somebody's knocking down. We do have the cameras. We're gonna install it pretty soon somewhere.
The ones that are not supposed to be viewed by the public, is that the camera you're
Yes.
saying?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And Mr. Louis was right, they're really expensive, but,
Well worth it.
yes. Trash, we're still picking up trash everywhere, people still don't understand. It's really been slowing down 5%, but
Better than
we're
nothing.
still picking up trash. The clubhouse, for the winter, we already started doing all the pavilions, pressure cleaning, new paint, all the tables, the mowing is still going. The guardrail around the clubhouse is done. We only missing one spot on the ramp and the 2 stairs. But the entire the clubhouse is already done.
Mr. Manager, when you do the Christmas celebration that you do every year,
Right.
right? I think that's a wonderful time to have these these surveys.
Right.
Get the parents, and if you need help, I will be there, and I'm sure other people from CCOM and any organization that is from here, that's the day to get them. And besides that, going to the churches, but you have nothing to do with the churches, but at that time, for Christmas,
Right.
we could get
Yeah,
a lot
that's
of
a great
people.
idea. That's a good idea.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I've been driving around and I noticed a new look, called the Mohawk,
Okay.
You cut the inside of the road, you cut the outside of the road, but then you guys leave a streak down the middle. Is that the new Madura look now, the Mohawk?
We leave a what?
A streak of grass, you don't cut the center.
If it rain, if
No,
it.
right here in South Cabbage, right now. You go down the road, and they cut the grass on the inside, they cut the grass on the outside, but they leave a streak down the middle. Why is that?
I haven't seen that.
Well, pay attention to this.
I haven't seen that. Actually,
Yes, that is the new Mohawk.
No,
We paid extra for that, Luke.
no, either we have a blade missing out of the thing, or, you know.
maybe it could be that there's one spot that the blade was bad or something.
No, flat land, I'm not talking about the ditches.
Right.
Flat land, you see cut in the inside, cut it outside, and a Mohawk down the middle.
We can only afford
Maybe
2
there's a
blades.
bad blade.
Times are rough right now.
Any questions for the manager? I've got one. Can we get a list of the projects that you have on this fiscal year?
Yes.
List that you want to get completed?
Well, so you asking me, I was gonna let Mr. Bennett
That's fine,
tell you guys about it.
that's
but,
fine.
A few meetings ago, we asking for the covers for the money. You guys table it, but I want you guys to know that we've been buying the covers either way because the covers is still collapsing, so we have to repair it.
Yes, sir.
That project is going on with the canals bank. We just changed 3 this week.
Good.
And the other project that we told you guys we were gonna bring the money is the swell elevation project. You guys have a copy with you?
Okay.
This is a long, we did it between Bennett, Becky, and me. We
Okay.
sit down and we got all the numbers roughly figured out. This is based on 20 hours work per week, because we still have to maintain everything else.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is based on 20 hours,
This is overtime for the men.
yes.
Go ahead.
If you read on the paper, all the numbers are there. Where it says total, 226,410,
Yes, sir.
that will be the total amount per year
Per year.
that we're going to spend on 30 quarter-mile roads. We're calculating to do about 30 roads per year because you got holidays, you got, raining season, all that. As you can see, the material is included per week, the pipes, we made a percentage of, out of the entire Montura, more or less, there will be 3 covers per road. We know it's not that, but we have a lot of roads that doesn't have anybody.
So it's an average.
So, right, it's an
Okay.
average.
Okay.
Out of those covers, me and Mr. Bennett, we were talking about it, we think that a great percentage of every single cover is gonna have to be either replaced, removed, and the reason for that is because the swells doesn't have the right elevation. So every single elevation on the covers, by the time we do the swells, it's gonna be wrong.
Understood.
And the older ones, I've seen covers that are almost covered with sand, like the one on
Yes.
269.
Yes, 160. Yeah, 160.
So, the number was gonna be a lot more bigger than that,
Okay.
because we added 30%, we're calculating a rough number of 30% of money on equipment repairs and all that, and a 10% contingency, but we took it out because it's already budgeted
Understood.
on a regular budget. So, and also on the overtime, you guys notice that it will be $85,230 per year. We called Mr. Joe, and on our budget, it's already $74,000 that's over on the line item salaries and wages.
Okay.
So, big part of that number is already budget, right? 74 something.
Okay.
So anyway, the total amount per year, doing 15 miles of swell every year, will be $226,000. And that's a project that's gonna last about 15 years, if you guys wanna do
Is
that.
this what Louis had asked
Yes.
at the last meeting?
This is what you guys asked for the numbers.
No, I didn't ask for it. Not the numbers. This is the project that he asked for.
Yes.
Yes, that's right.
And you asked it after you told us, why are we spending so much money? When you asked for this project, we had not budgeted $226,000 to elevate for the swell elevation.
In other words, is to do new swells.
Why? To do
New swells.
This was not it. So when you look at the $1 million that you are complaining about, that you are saying, hold on, Louis, let me talk.
Okay.
When you are asking for that million, when you are looking at that $1 million, okay, and it's taking out of our savings, because we have to use it. We have no other, and then you come up on the same meeting and you ask for something else. I remember this. I remember you asking for this. I'm not against this. I'm telling you that if there are 2 ways of doing it, we either ignore it and let it crumble, or we attack it. 15 years to do this.
And the
It was
total,
because somebody else didn't do it.
the total is $3.5 million
3.5 million.
in 15 years,
And
15.7 years.
this is justified. Okay, it's not that I'm picking on you, it's that I'm telling you, this is where the money is going. This exactly right. That million, where is that $1 million going? We have it in the bank, use it. Now, what I am saying to the board is there's gonna come a time that we cannot address every new project that comes up to the table. We're gonna have to say, this is it. When the money runs out for this project, let's say, we're not going to dip into the savings, the $2.5 million that we have in the bank, to do another project.
I think the biggest,
Can I,
you go ahead. Let her finish and then you go right ahead. Go ahead.
I'm almost finished. I'll reply to whatever you're gonna say. Go ahead.
Hold on. Be nice. Go ahead, Louis.
I asked for that study,
Yes,
all
sir.
right?
I know you did.
Because it's things that we need to do.
Correct.
Right?
I totally am aware that it hasn't been done in 20 years, and we're trying to catch up,
Yes.
okay? So, all that study, I needed to know so we can plan our future,
Right.
all right? Now, what the manager
But he's gonna
is
do it now.
addressing,
He's gonna do it now.
because it needs to get done.
So
It's
then
not a project.
it's not future.
No,
it's
no,
not future.
No, no.
Go ahead.
It is, it's the things that need to get done. To me, that needs to get done because we can't let the road cave in.
Everything we've done this
Everybody
year.
agree with that?
Yes.
I got a question. I also asked for these prices because, and a few times, because it needs to be done. It hasn't been done. We haven't died from it yet. We're gonna run this short of money. I mean, we gotta be careful. I was all for starting it until the culverts came up. And now I'm all for holding off a little bit. We know what it's gonna cost us. We can plan ahead, but holding off a little bit, getting these culverts installed. That's a bunch of money we never planned on spending. Now, do you see any danger in holding off? We've held off this long?
I would say,
It depends if you're the person that's affected.
right.
It depends if you're the.
That's the whole idea. It depends
It
on.
depends if you're the one being
Then
affected.
don't do it on the blocks where there are no residents living there.
Well,
It's the other way
The-
around. It needs
the
to be done,
deal
but
is
the
that we
residents
can-
are. Because the
we can-
residents are the one getting flow because the ditches are not done right. So
the
it's the
thing
other
is
way
that
around.
if you have, for example, a hunting club, okay, the water runs from the center lot and from the hunting club, from the center lot, both sides, and make their way to the
It's
the
supposed
canal
to
bank.
happen.
So if this road doesn't have no houses, no nothing, and the swell is bad, then all that water is gonna accumulate on the other side, or it's just not gonna run. It's just gonna stay in the center of hunting club, or in front of, people's houses, which it happens a lot. We've been cleaning and cleaning and cleaning, but by us cleaning, we're taking the elevation out. There is no elevation either way. We're just trying to move the water
But
to
I
the
mean, there's
canal.
gonna come a point that we're gonna have to pick our.
Again,
The
what we
worst
said.
spots.
Louis, go ahead, keep going. Sorry.
If this is concerning the safety of any residents, then don't do it. To me, it's not a project. To me, it's a necessity. So, when I said about the money,
Yes, sir.
it's because I just want this board to be aware how much money, how many checks I'm signing,
It's a good thing.
okay?
It's a good thing.
And I want you to be, when Mr. Boyle here says, we don't have any money,
We don't
I
wanna
don't
get
wanna
there.
be, I don't want you guys to be surprised.
Nobody's surprised. We're
Every
all,
time I get-
we're all on the same
Every
team.
time I get a check to transfer, I inquire, correct me if I'm wrong,
Yes, sir.
why is this happening?
You know what's surprising as the public and as living here as well, and one reason why I ran for the board because of nothing being done and all the taxes being paid and no improvement. So there's a time to save, there's a time to spend, there's a time to do everything, and it's time to fix this community. So as you're right, safety, there's certain things that are priority. I agree, but as a member here. And watching this community, we haven't addressed it. We've always pushed it off. Unfortunately, we've always pushed it off. And depending where you live, you could suffer.
So if we have a a survey done with the back covers that we have. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Attorney, as long as we are in intent to fix it, if something happens, the attorney can say, we know, it
Right.
happened, but we are working on it.
Right.
So who's gonna determine what culvert is gonna have to be done? And who's gonna take the liability?
No, we need to,
First of all, it's crushed. They have to do that.
if we doing this, every single cover has to come out. Every single one of them has to come out. We
Because
need to do the swell, and we have to put them back and replace them. And put our material, which is everything included here.
And that's no fault of the public's. That's no fault of the residents. Again, like for instance, so what he's saying is, as new people are coming in right now, there's so much sedimentation in our swells that he's gonna say, cut 1 foot, cut 2 foot. But that's not true because of the sedimentation and because everybody else's culverts, depending where you
Right.
are on the street.
Right.
So again, we're absolutely correct, Louis. It has to be done right. It literally has to be
Yes.
done right, and it has to be started. Don't know how, but it has to be started for sure.
The plastic covers, the new plastic covers, I'm pretty sure we can save all of them.
The HDPE
Supposedly,
ones.
yes, we can, pick them out, do as well, and place those covers back. But if we break it for whatever reason, or all the metal covers, I'm pretty sure those are not gonna be safe. Those are
They probably
gone.
rotted out.
Those, we're gonna have to put them on from our money, our covers. Brand new.
So what Louis is saying, and as you as community members understand, sooner or later, we're gonna have to bite the bullet. We're gonna have to do something. And, because if not, as everybody's cry is, including mine, fix the roads, fix this, fix the other, that costs funding, right?
Mr. Chair,
It costs-
Mr. Chair, my intent.
Hold on 1 second.
My intent
Yes, sir.
is to make this board aware of things that you guys are not, and the benefit of the residents.
Okay.
So if I request studies, and I request this, and I request that,
Yes, sir.
it's not that it's gonna benefit me,
No,
but it's gonna benefit the community.
the community, yes, sir.
Okay.
What we're here
So-
for.
You're bringing awareness. You're bringing awareness.
I take an offense.
You shouldn't.
Okay?
because
No.
Let me speak, yes.
I take an offense when you claim that we're running out of money and then I request a study.
Yeah.
One thing doesn't have nothing to do with the other. I requested a study for the board to know
Yes.
what is going on. And I informed this board that I have signed over $1 million in less than a year. Okay? Because who else signs on that account?
There's only two.
Okay, so you're not aware, and you're not aware.
No, it's not that. It's not that I'm not aware. I am aware.
Okay?
It's just that certain people have to go to certain banks to make sure it's done. Because I was there, because the lady always calls me and says, hey, there's certain
Mr.
people on
Mata
your
asked for
board.
the same that you asked, Mr. Lewis. He also asked.
We
for
are
that.
aware, brother.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
long as this board is aware, and the majority rules, that's the way I feel.
Understood.
Right? If I see something else, yes, I'm gonna bring it up,
Agreed.
regardless if you guys like it or not, or you guys agree, you don't agree,
Agreed.
because the majority rules.
Yes, sir.
I just don't want no surprises, because I still vividly remember when the auditor was here,
Yes, sir.
that it was mentioning all this was gonna happen, and,
And it's
oh, yeah, we need to do something when we do, but nobody does damn nothing about it.
We have been doing it. If you look.
No, sir, excuse me, sir.
Okay.
On the last budget hearing, and the talk was to raise the taxes. Oh, no, we don't want to raise the taxes.
You vote on it?
Yes, we did vote on it.
And how'd
And
it
the
go?
majority rules, and we adopted the budget.
Okay.
I voted against because I knew this was gonna happen, no, because I'm an expert, because I'm relying on an expert.
Okay.
Okay? When I have a question for the engineer, I don't I can speculate and I can say, well, if I have an accounting problem, I talk to the accountant.
Yes, sir.
Correct, right? Right? If I have an attorney problem, I just don't want no surprises because I see it coming. If we keep postponing this and postponing that, we have to be here to supply those people their needs.
And you make a great point, but we have to also get the confidence from our constituents that we know what we're doing with the money and it's used properly. Because the first thing they're gonna say is, look, we're paying you this money now, you can't even take care of what you have now. And I sat in that same seat, said the same thing. That's why I got my butt involved. So I agree with them as well, because that might have to happen. But again, you're absolutely correct, majority rules. So when we vote as a board, yea or nay, that's what it is, and we have to move forward and pick up the pieces. Because again, we do have a lot of people in our community that are not well off, correct? We have a lot of people that are dealing with certain things, so we're trying to stretch every dollar that we possibly can. If you can understand that, we're literally trying to squeeze every dollar. And are we perfect at it? Probably not. But we're trying to do the best and the right thing for this community. But you bring great up.
And the day might come that we say, we can't do this year. Or the budget, we're gonna stick to the budget and we're not gonna go over because there are always emergencies or things that happen that you need extra money. So you have to stop somewhere, okay? And the comment I made was that you were complaining on that meeting about how much we were spending, and yet you brought in another. I'm not saying that this isn't correct. I'm just telling you.
And that's just an estimate. That's
So
it can be off.
is expressing what I feel?
Finish the sentence.
Huh?
Go ahead, express it if you want.
No. I was only expressing what I feel, what I see. Doesn't mean I'm right.
Yes, sir.
Doesn't mean I'm wrong.
No one says you can't.
Okay? Well, what I'm saying is, I'm sorry to say it, but you guys are not seeing.
Oh, yes, we are. We are.
That's not.
See, I'm gonna say something. That's where you're wrong. Because I don't need an accountant. I don't need anybody here to tell me that we're spending more money we're making, because I can see it. I know enough about what's going on here. I know what needs to be done, and I can tell you what it's gonna cost to do what needs to be done, and we don't have the money to do some of the things that need to be done, and the county don't have the money, my turn, to do some of the things that need to be done. But I will tell you that 15 years ago, if it rained 2 inches here, this place was underwater and you couldn't move. We went through a major hurricane not too many years ago, and in 3 days, this water was almost gone and we were moving. There was places on the coast with $1 million homes that spent 3 months getting water out of their neighborhood. So what I'm telling you is we've come a long way. We have a long way to go, and I don't think we need to be throwing away money on things that do not affect the outcome of this. Flooding. And I heard not too long ago, flooding. How many houses do we go through? 7 or 8? Yeah. I didn't see water standing anywhere. I got pictures. Mm-hmm. Not what I say. I got pictures to show anybody who wants to see them. So we have a lot of issues, but we got to be careful what we get caught off on these tangents and run off and spend $3 million here and if it's not necessary. The swells have been bad for years, and we've come from there to here, which is a big deal. Do we need to do more? I think we do. But I can tell you something. I can deal with bad swells. Culverts that are stopped up will not let water pass. We got to attack those culverts. But I will say this one more time. The minute I got on this board, I can see that we're spending more money than what we have, and I can see where we can run that account dry if we're not careful. So we have to be very careful. We have to raise taxes. No one wants to raise taxes. The minute you say raise taxes, everybody wants to kill you. But we have to go to ad valorem taxes. This whole system's got to change. Like it or not, when I first came on this board, that airport project was not final. I did not believe that it would ever be so. That was a different scenario. Well, I didn't believe it, and I didn't want to believe it. But with that being said, the way we were going, we could kind of continue for God knows how many more years. But now we have this big footprint that's going to hit this place, and we got to move. We're going to have to raise taxes. Whoever don't believe that, you're lying to yourself. We have to. And it's going to be the county. We give the county a bunch of money, and all they do is a little bit of code enforcement. someone's gonna have to tackle that one. Look at all the money the county gets. What do they do for it? Nothing. They don't mow, they don't do roads. Maybe we turn the roads over to the county. I don't know, but we gotta get creative, and there's a lot of things we have to do.
It'll never get done.
Well,
So with that being
I
said,
mean, they're killing us. Look at all the money they're getting. And we're not getting but a little bit of it, and we're supposed to do all
hold
this.
on, Rick. So with that being said,
One more little point about
Okay.
this. The covers
yes, sir.
on the canal banks, they need to go along or before or at the
ditches,
same time
the swells.
than this.
Understood.
Because if we do the swells and we don't do the covers, the
Yeah.
water still don't go anywhere.
That's something we have to talk about now. So appreciate everybody who brought this report. Appreciate you, Louis, bringing it up because it is something that we're
I
going to
don't know
have
if
to tackle.
Mr. Bennett has something to say about.
When it comes to your opportunity, Mr. Bennett, if you would bring that up. At this time, with that being said, if you could stand, say your name.
I just had a quick thing on the culvert. I want to know who regulates when a property owner buys a piece of property and puts a driveway in through the ditch. It's like over by me, an example. And it's been there for years, don't get me wrong.
Yes, sir.
Where I have a metal culvert, guy comes in and put a plastic, he's running a semi business, he's backing loaded semis in there every day, he crushed his culvert. So now when it rains, all that water does back up.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing to do with, like you're saying, the swell.
Right.
The homeowner did that. So who's regulating what goes in for the driveways and setting the height and all? Who's doing that?
Or maybe you can go ahead and answer that question.
We do the elevation for it.
You do? Well, it ain't
Yes, sir.
down there where it goes. Some of them putting in what they want.
Well, and that is the thing as well, and so you have to understand as well, and something that we have to get better at, like I think you said earlier, is we move out here because we can do anything, and that's exactly what a lot of people do. That doesn't mean that I mean, I know guys that didn't even pull a permit, and I said, guess what? I'm not going to tell on you, but I guarantee you he's going to yank it out the ground and put it on your fence, and I've seen it happen many times. But again, that's why when you do something, unfortunately, you do have to get a permit, get it done right, and move on. Somebody else had a question? Greg, if you could stand.
It wasn't a question,
Okay.
it's a statement. These swells, if they're not done, we're getting roads that are covered in water.
Mm-hmm.
Your Mohawk cut is because we're burning through clutches. We hit swells that are doing this, the roads are doing this. I'm out there every day. I cut. I know what it's doing. We hit bottom in one spot, cutting high in another. And when we hit bottom, it burns the clutches right out of our drive shafts. That's where you're getting your Mohawk cut.
Understood.
We don't do something about these swells. It's this equipment to buy. We're gonna be buying new equipment. Can't keep repairing and repairing and repairing, because it's gonna turn into junk. We've got to do something with these swells. There is no ifs, ands, or buts.
Well, we'll look at it, Greg. So I appreciate your comment. I appreciate what you do for us as well.
It's my job.
Thank you. You had a question, sorry. She had one.
Oh, yeah, I had a question. You were mentioning, what kind of signs were people stealing?
No, they're not stealing it.
Street signs.
It would be a lot better if they steal it. No, they don't steal it. At least they're making something out of it. No, they just go around with some truck or something high and with pipe or
Yeah,
bat,
sometimes my street signs laying on.
and they just knock them out. The street sign.
So what kind of cameras are you gonna put up? Did you say something about cameras? Is that
Hey, don't
just-
give away too much.
It's just come out. It's just come
Oh,
out.
that's, no, just
Can't tell you the street.
Oh, so it's particularly, it's not all over Monterey?
Right, no.
Okay.
So catch the people throwing garbage
Yeah,
on the
I
street.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead. Your name and address, please, if you would.
Yeah, I live in 360 Appaloosa Housing.
Nice.
All the way down from Hacienda and Appaloosa to Quebrada.
Yes, sir.
During the rainy season, you can see all the ditches full of water on there.
Yes, sir.
And the water doesn't go anywhere.
Yes, sir.
I mean,
It takes time.
you know, also by Hunting Club, the same thing from
Monterey Avenue as well.
Yes, sir.
Monterey Avenue as well. And we are aware of that, but as we said as a board, we have to prioritize what we're gonna do.
I am not criticizing the board. I just mentioned
No,
what I lived
we,
through. You know?
we see it, and I know Louis has been active in the community, and he sees a lot of things as well. We have a lot to tackle here, so again, we have, unfortunately, a little bit of money. We're trying to make, and here's the honest to God, let me turn this down, because I'm loud anyway. So here's the scary part, and Louis is probably can attest to this. This is only because Montura is only 19 to 20% full. We're only 19 to 20% full right now. We have about 3,000 residents. We're nowhere near capacity, so can you imagine how chaotic and hectic it's gonna be, Louis, if we don't tackle these projects?
Yeah, one thing I
Oh,
wanna-
Go
one
ahead.
thing I wanna mention, I used to live here in Ventura, 429 South Nogales Street,
Okay.
between 1996 and 2000.
Yes, sir.
And I want to tell you one thing, I want to compliment all the board members. It's a lot better now, Ventura.
Yes.
Maintenance wise and everything else.
We're trying.
When I live here, I love Ventura. I've been coming to Ventura since 1980. But,
No, we appreciate it.
I've been here for a long, I've been here for a long
I know
time.
you, I know
Since I was about this high, so.
you don't remember me, you don't remember me, but
You look familiar.
One more question, so we can.
Oh, I had actually a compliment. I know people hate this, but since you put a stop to the ATCs, No, the water runs down my street really great because they're no longer coming through the trails, knocking it down in my drain house.
You can
So-
compliment the county sheriff implementing that.
The state actually.
It's been a positive thing, for my street anyway, the water's running pretty good.
My
Since
ATV's
that-
under the
they've been
garage,
knocking it in now.
Yeah.
And actually,
Mine's
so,
parked under the garage, but you know, it's.
I'll
it is-
just,
Do we ride golf carts here, or do we have to have them tagged?
so here's what I met with the sheriff last week. Sheriff Whidden and 3 other of his high-level officers, captains and so on, and pretty much when I brought up the four-wheeling, they looked at me and said, listen, if you're not driving on your private property, you're out of compliance, and whatever happens, happens. So again, he just wanted me to let the community know if you're riding on your private property, you're fine. If you take it out of that, it's like without wearing a seatbelt and you get pulled over, it is what it is. So he has no plans on changing that. And he can enforce it if he wants to, depends on the deputy, but again, we're at risk when we do that. As far as if you want to be legal, get your tag, get your insurance, and you can do what you want to from there.
Okay.
And as far as police in Monterey, I asked him about that as well, and he says there are unmarked cars out here that we don't know about, and there is officers out here because I just passed the board a thing, and there's been a lot of citations out here. So they are out here, but Monterey is pretty big.
I got one, so I know they're out here.
With that movement, no more questions for Herminio, or we'll table it for anything else. Engineers report?
Yeah, just going along with what y'all have been saying, we review permit applications for power line extensions on our right of ways.
Yes, sir.
For cable, telephone, or, cable extensions and new hookups. And the growth is already here. We probably are doing 5 a week. And I suspect they're getting 5 driveway permit applications a week or maybe more. So it's coming, it's really growing now.
Good information.
I gotta find someone.
Yeah. On the soil estimate we did, I just want to let y'all know that.
Yes, sir.
That it is kind of a worst case scenario. We're talking about replacing every culvert. We would be, all that will be evaluated as we go down there. We're talking about when they get started with one, they'll run the level down there and check the culverts if they're in the right elevation and in good shape. We won't change them. Some soil will probably not even need to be done, particularly some of these. And this is number is, and the bottom line for everything is we're doing every swale in Monterey. And, that probably won't happen. There's some with no houses on, no development at all. We'd also obviously be doing ones that are more populated first. For budgeting and for the information that Louis wanted, we did it as kind of a worst case scenario.
Got a question.
A few questions coming your way. Are you finished?
Yes.
All right. Got a few questions coming your way.
Is there any way of knowing, and I'm sure you do know, which were the worst areas first? The lowest, the worst, beat up this areas? Start there and work back.
Yeah, that's a possibility too. Herminio, I know has got knowledge of which areas hold water the most and that kind of thing. So, if we're not setting out on a program and just doing them all, which is what this considers, you know, you could prioritize and do some, maybe you could if they needed it.
I would like to start at the worst ones first and, you know, start doing some, but don't just say we're gonna do by area, start doing the worst affected areas, and, you know, then work your way across, and that'll help, that'll definitely help.
And we're putting together a map for Renio and Becky too, so that they can put it on the wall and use thumbtacks or pens
Yes, sir.
to mark which ones we've done and which ones still need to be done, that kind of thing.
That's awesome.
They'll be keeping track of all that.
That's what we love to see, yeah. So can we ask something of you as well, Mr. Bennett, like going forward, and also Mr. Boyd, we're definitely gonna need your, can we get creative to find revenue to start this? We're gonna have to start this. Can you get creative to find some money so we can get this project started? You got a question?
We can certainly start looking for some grant money and that kind of thing.
Besides grant money, looking at our budget as well,
Yeah,
and seeing what we can do.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Luke.
$2 million. If we rent the reservoir, the water management, go the whole water, we get $2 million every year.
We'd have to reach out to the
Then you
board.
can't use the reservoir.
Is that offer still open?
Sorry?
That offer is still open?
So I looked at it a year ago, and they don't, we could probably get close to $1 million.
Yeah.
And it's all dependent on the funding that's, every year it's done year by year. And then they set a list of priorities, because there's a lot of big ranch, like Lights Brothers, got 20,000 acres they're doing this storage on. So a lot of the big guys have jumped on this.
Yes, sir.
But it would take us about a year to get in the queue. But it's real.
Yeah, they were here before and offered us money.
Reservoir, I mean, I'm no engineer, but that reservoir is wildly oversized for what we would need if he was designing a system from scratch. It's probably more than double the size. So there's capacity in there. You know, in terms of use, it's possible that some of the lower areas of the reservoir during the wet season would not be accessible because there's some standing water. But it's not like, you know, it'd be a bowl and you fill it to the top with water. It's never going to be like that.
So
It's real money.
As long as, I've heard that, I don't know if it's true or not,
Differently.
but everything is in money. I've heard that you kill the life of the trees and the animals if you fill that up with X amount of water. I'm assuming somebody has to tell us if it's true or not. Let us know what are the consequences of doing it, and then who decides that, the board or the public?
No, that's a natural wetland to begin with.
Yeah.
Right.
So whatever is there will survive with the water.
With more water?
When the district looks at this, that's why it takes a
Okay.
year. They study this.
Yeah.
Okay,
They're going to look at
so they're gonna have
all
us, and
those
they're gonna
issues.
give us all the facts.
Yeah. I mean, if the ATV usage
Will be
has a much greater impact than putting more water, because the wetlands, you know, they've been drained, so they kind of like, I don't think that's gonna be a problem.
Okay,
But they'll look at all that kind of stuff.
all right.
So
we have to apply?
Yes,
For
ma'am.
the attorney to look into.
I second.
So we have a motion, we have a second?
Yes.
All in favor?
Uh,
Motion carries.
What's he gonna look into, because I didn't hear the rest.
He's gonna look into, to see if we could, get into the
Yeah,
program where they
yeah.
give us money for,
What I could do is maybe have someone from the South Florida Water Management District come here, one of our meetings, and do a presentation. And there's a lot, I mean, there's a lot on their website now. A lot of information.
Now, I just want to inform the board, when you do this, right, this place, and not against it, because, you know, we voted, and, you know, this place is going to be in uproar.
What?
This place is going to be in uproar.
They were here before.
Most people, the four-wheeling is a part of Monterey. So we just took away all, what you're saying now, Louis, and I don't want to say, because I'm on the board too, But what you're telling the community is, there is no four-wheeling, no nothing that has to do with a bike anywhere.
Airboats. Switch to airboats.
So you're gonna get a lot of pushback, not only
They hit a
from.
stump with the airboat.
Yeah,
John said it, just because we rent the thing out to water management, it doesn't mean it's gonna get flooded like an ocean.
Well, again, you got to watch water management too. I have a buddy, and I ain't gonna call his name. Got into some of this deal with water management, and it ain't got nothing but bite him in the butt.
Right, because there's a contract as well.
Right.
And then we have to be liable to our part, because like for instance, what happens if you don't pay attention to the fine lines, the fine print? Well, you know what, we're gonna flood it 24/7. Next thing you know, there's a mosquito issue in Montura. So there's, like I say, money is not everything. Money is not everything.
Settle those, right?
So hold on, Greg. So money's not everything, so we have to pay attention because we do affect our community. They're already in an uproar that they can't ride in the community. Now, we said, okay, you can ride there, and now, and then possibly taking that. So we can look into it and see what happens, but if you definitely want to get people out to the meetings, you put that one on the board, that definitely come out, right?
Get some surveys.
Go ahead, Ben.
I'm trying to remember.
So
2 or
I'll
3
call
years.
it Lewis Napoli proposal.
Yeah, 2 or 3 years, 2 or 3 years on the last time I was
And
here.
I'm willing to take the blame for that one too.
They were here. They were here.
Yes,
They were here numerous times.
yes.
It was pretty much figured out. It was gonna be $350,000 for them to bring that rate, and but it wasn't gonna be what he's saying. It was gonna
Yeah.
they were gonna bring that bad boy up.
Yes, sir.
It was not gonna be able to use. People stormed in here,
Gonna be
and then
underwater.
people never came back.
Makes sense.
But they were gonna put in a lot of water. It was 350,000. If we got in an emergency, we could drain it. We discussed quality of water, who controlled it, who was liable, because
Yes.
at first we said, you bring water from outside, y'all are liable. I mean, we went through a major process here on this already, but they said that it would be, first of all, we had to finish the dikes, because they couldn't even bring it up. So I'm telling you, that's a lot of water. If they wanted the dikes finished, in order to do that, there's no way in the world that it's gonna be a little bit of water, it's gonna be a lot of water. So we'll change the airboats
We'll look
to
into
motorboats.
We can look into it. You request,
We'll have a
we'll
lake
look
out there.
into it. Any other questions for our engineer? All right. Next, the treasurer's report. Thank you, Mr. Ben.
Our regular treasurer's report in the month of October doesn't have much activity because the taxes don't go out until November.
Okay,
So
that's correct.
if you look at the front page, it shows our assessment, $1,753,88, but there's been no collections because we can't pay yet.
Correct.
So the second page is basically all zeros, because November, that'll be a big change.
Understood.
So there's not too much to report there. When we talk about the amended budget, I've got a few things I could share with you about last year's results.
Please.
But as far as this, whenever that time comes,
Go ahead.
you want to do that now? Okay. We're required every year to amend our budget to make the beginning fund balance equal to what the auditor's balance was.
Okay.
So that's what we're doing here. We're taking last year's budget, not this year, but the year that ends its budget, and we're amending it to just the beginning fund balance to equal theirs. The other thing, and this doesn't affect the bottom line, but we bought that boom mower, even though it's a lease purchase,
Yes, sir.
it's counted like you bought it because that you really did. So we show $149,814 as financing proceeds, but then a capital outlay of the same amount.
Okay.
So it has no effect on the bottom line, but you did buy it, so that gets it into the assets and that sort of thing. And then when you're doing that, you normally, we talk about that before, is make some line item changes, among the line items of the budget to hopefully keep from going over budget in different categories.
Yes, sir.
So the budget that you have there to sign, and the whiteout was promoting you to chair because this has Benny's name on it. but he hasn't whited out one with your name.
It's okay.
His last meeting, anyway.
Hey, no, get my name off of it, I'm done.
Yeah.
He's got it down. It's him they'll hang, not me.
Now, as far as the actual number, the way it does it here, it puts your beginning fund balance in there because that's available. And then at the end, the contingency of 2.675 million that's what, is still available to have spent with your beginning balance. And that's just the way you're required to do it. But I can tell you some of the numbers that are more like what we're used to. Our budget for the year, the original budget, was to lose or spend $352,000 more than we took in.
Yes, sir.
We knew we were going to do that and use our fund balance. From our year-end records, this is before audit adjustments, but it's probably pretty close to it.
Yeah.
We're showing that we only overspent by $309,000 instead of $352,000. So we're actually $42,800 better off than what we had budgeted.
Good.
And that's with the $300,000 we spent on asphalt right near the end of the year for paving.
What about the FEMA money? Is that?
The FEMA money makes a difference because our revenues were higher than what we budgeted. So even though we spent more money, we spent the $300,000 on asphalt, and we returned the money to the property appraiser.
Oh, yeah.
That's in here also. And still, because of the increased revenue, so basically, without audit adjustments, which may not be a big deal, we're saying that we lost about $310,000.
Compared to, we were expected to lose
$352,000.
Okay, so we came in under.
Right, $43,000 better than we thought. And a lot of that was the FEMA.
Understood.
But still, so.
And we did a few miles of road.
Right.
That overlay.
So that's what I wanted to let you know. Is that
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. John Wall for the board?
right now, we've got total cash in October of $2.8 million if you consider all of it.
Understood.
And it is going down. We do need to address the tax issues.
Yes, sir.
But it didn't go down as far as we expected.
But that adjusting the tax issue will not be able to happen until next land use meeting, right? Correct? Before the next land use meeting, John? If I'm not mistaken?
Yes.
Right? So if we do something, we have to be prepared and then roughly in October, October area, be ready for that.
Yeah, there's a referendum and
It takes the progress.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
So I would
That's to make it
recommend that we amend
Or just to
this
raise it.
amended budget to be in compliance with the rules and so forth.
Okay.
And keep in mind, that's last year's.
Yes,
That's
sir.
already behind us.
Yes.
It's not this year.
We're already in a new
Right.
2019, 2020 fiscal year budget.
Right.
So if you make it Avalon, are the people that are here already gonna be grandfathered in?
No.
They're not gonna be touched? Everybody's gonna be reassessed?
Yeah, it have to be, everybody would have to be done.
Okay, instead of raising the tax?
So, what?
That's what you're
Your
saying, we're gonna go
property, yeah.
Avalon?
You know what you
instead
get
of-
you get your trend notice from Hickory County every year?
Correct.
You get the same thing from Central County. Here's property appraiser's office assigned a value of X. So you'll probably be using the same
The
value
same value?
that the county uses today to determine your taxes. What you would determine is the millage rate. And you remember every year, you get that thing that says proposed, if the millage stayed the same.
Correct.
If the millage were increasing, it looked just like that. You would be the body that sets the millage rate.
Right.
And so just like the county commission every year, now, when we were lucky to live in an area where most times property values go up, so like you see with the county, like most counties, they keep the millage rate the same. The reason they keep it the same, but they make more money, is because property values are going up. So they keep the millage rate, they never, the politicians say, see, we kept our millage rate at the same rate. Yeah, but the values of the property going up, so they're getting more money in.
And that's what just happened to us. The millage rate stayed the same, but our property values went up, and so we're paying more this year. I've seen it on everything that I have. So that's
Property
good.
appraiser's been out reassessing, that's why.
Oh, yes, of course they
That's
are.
why people's taxes.
And every so
Yes.
often that happens, and we use their numbers, whatever they happen to
Correct.
be.
You know what? I missed one question, Mr. Bennett. Do we have settled what 2 miles that we're going to do, and where are we at with that RFP to get that out?
We haven't done an RFP. At the last meeting, we did recommend
Okay.
2 streets. It was Appaloosa from Cabbage Palm to Quebrada.
To Quebrada.
I believe.
Cabbage Palm to Quebrada on Appaloosa, okay.
And then the other one was to extend Hacienda another mile to the south.
And that would take me to where then? It would stop at
Perímetro.
Del Sur to...
No. From Del Sur to Appaloosa.
So that's where, because that's where it stops.
Yes.
And it goes dirt road.
Yes.
Okay, so just to let everybody know, we're doing another 2 miles of overlay. Good. So we are attacking, there's a lot to do, but we are tackling, and that roughly is gonna cost us about 3 something again, give or take?
I believe it's a little less than that.
All right.
I got a question. We haven't actually been authorized by the board to do an RFP and go out for bids yet.
I got a question.
Why don't we
It's in the
settle-
budget.
Hang on to this one.
Okay.
Why don't we settle on our tax situation before we start spending that money on the road?
I got a question.
I think we already have it budgeted already.
That one is budgeted already.
We already have that budget,
Yes.
that money's budgeted.
You know what they say, you can always change a line item.
You actually can.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Is there anything out there that's in dire straits that if we don't overlay this year, it's gonna cost us more to overlay next year?
No, I don't think it's in that kind of shape, but we are gonna be spending more and more on patching.
Right.
Appaloosa particularly, it's pretty bad. So.
How about certain areas, we talked about spot areas, overlaying just certain small areas that were real bad.
Mhm.
And you can later tie into those areas, like if, for example, if you do those this year, you're gonna save a bundle of money, and then maybe when you do the overlaying, you can tie into those, correct?
You must
That's
have
right.
seen those big trucks in our community lately.
Well, that's another thing we
You
have
must
to
have seen
talk
those
about.
bad, big trucks in our community.
I really think that it's not a bad idea to go out and get an annual contract, so much as square yard for hot mix patching.
Understood.
And you can use that in your regular maintenance budget where you can, overlay certain sections of that. We could prepare an RFP for something like that and just see what we get, because you see around here, the roads that were done with just hot mix patching seem to hold up very well. It's just like a miniature overlay basically. And yes, you can tie into them later.
Right.
A lot of times they would mill a little bit of it also.
Right, the edges of the
Make
entire,
a
right
good
here.
transition to it, but yes, that can be done. And I think it's a good idea to have an annual contract for that kind of thing anyway.
It's not uncommon.
In case some damages a piece of road, then you can just go out and don't have to go out for bids again on it. You can just go do it based on that annual bid.
Good, okay.
I can look into that and prepare an RFP for that if you like.
Sorry, Mr. Boyd, to
That's all right.
interrupt you.
As far as implementing this, Mr. Tremero has got the resolutions there. So,
Yeah, so, at the beginning of the meeting.
Yes, sir.
Before you walked in, the board amended the agenda and added 2 resolutions. Resolution 19-9, which is adopting the budget for the fiscal year ending September 2020.
Yep.
And Resolution 19-10, amending the final budget
from last year.
from last year. This would probably be a good time just to go ahead and vote on it. I'll give you these after the meeting to execute.
Does that mean that we have to, but I'm back to the asphalt, that doesn't mean we have to stick to that plan. We can vary, if we vote on this, we can still do what we talked about. I'm very serious about
So-
us thinking about looking at this, and, you know, we could save a lot of money and use some of this money towards Lewis's project, hey, I gotta do something, use it towards that project, and then maybe next year or the year after, that's why I asked if the roads were not in terrible shape. If they are, you can't let them go, because it's gonna destroy us, but if they'll hold another year or so, we can move that money around, so we can do that.
Yes, sir, nothing's set in stone.
Okay.
You know, it's in fact common to do budget amendments through the year.
Okay.
Because nobody can predict
Nobody.
what happens throughout the year. So you have the ability to react. Something new, a new priority, a new problem.
Okay,
So absolutely.
all right. Sorry about that, guys.
No, you're
So you can vote on them all together, Resolution 19-9 and Resolution 19-10.
So moved.
Any, on the floor?
I gonna vote against it. I voted against the budget, and I'm voting against the resolution as well.
All right, I've already said so moved, so we need a second.
You have a second?
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
All right.
I like the man that sticks with his guns, sticks to his guns.
Resolution passed.
I say it again, I don't wanna sound like a broken record,
No,
guys.
sir.
Benny, you've been here, I don't know, 10 years, 20 years, whatever it is. When Denise and I came here, we were presented with all these problems, and since I've been here, we haven't done nothing about it. We keep talking about it.
That's not
Yeah,
true,
blah, 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 blah. Yes, we're moving forward,
We've done a lot this year.
okay? Yeah,
Just
we're
been a
moving
bunch of money.
forward, but we are not addressing the situation the way that I believe we should.
Well, first of all, the clubhouse. We may have saved our clubhouse. There was water coming in that thing from everywhere. That was what, 100,000 we spent on the clubhouse? So I think we have looked at the worst first, what couldn't wait, and then get into smaller stuff. But anyway, you know, everybody's entitled to their opinion.
You're entitled to your
Yeah, you're
opinion.
entitled to your
And
opinion.
just let you know, regardless if we like it or not, like family, we're a team. So there's some stuff that you guys approved that I wasn't for, but guess what? I didn't wallow in the mud. I moved on because I believe at the end of the day, we're all trying to do the best for Montero.
Yes.
So we're a team here. There's no I in team. There's I in win, but not I in team. So any more questions for Mr. Boyd?
You want to get up and jump up and yell?
Any any ex-cheerleaders? So let's move forward. Attorney report.
Yes, sir. Just a few things. You should have in your backup so remember, once a year, we set all of the meetings for the next calendar year,
Yes.
2020.
Yes.
So, and we have a resolution that has attached to it all those meeting dates.
Oh,
So
yes.
Hopefully you've had a chance to look at those.
I did see that. Yeah.
I'll just give you a couple of highlights.
Go right ahead.
On May 27th of 2020, we kick off our budget development process. As you know, we spend the summer months developing the budget. The dates for 2020?
The updated ones,
Yeah.
I never got them from
Yeah, I
this
don't
year.
have them.
We never got those.
Gave
All
me
right,
out
so
number
make some
one.
I was
copies and
thinking-
I'll talk about something else.
I don't have it either.
Okay, so, next item, and Mr. Mount, I don't know if you wanted to talk about, proposal for playground equipment.
Yeah, you can go right in. So basically, I reached out to our attorney and I was approached because I'm on the Henry Leadership Blades. And there's a young man that he is the public relations gentleman for U.S. Sugar, United States Sugar Corporation. And so I reached out to him and he said, you know, U.S. Sugar does a lot for all the community, but we've never been approached by Henry County. So he said, if you type us up a letter, we'll try to, you know, donate some funding. So Mr. Famero was gracious enough to type something up. We put a lot of good information, so we're just waiting to meet with them and give some good feedback, and hopefully, you know, they'll donate some pretty good funding for the playground area that's in dire straits of rehab.
$1 million. Real money.
1 million. So you $1 million for the? I'll make it happen.
Let me ask you something. If let's say we get 300,000,
Okay.
100,000, for that,
Yes,
for the
sir.
play, for the clubhouse. Can we take $100?
No. We're gonna use all the money that they promised.
No, you can't. So when you
I
apply,
haven't finished the sentence.
Go ahead.
You know what I'm gonna
I
say?
think you're going to use it for something else.
No, I was gonna say, that money you
Yes.
use for whatever they gave it to us, and we take out the same amount from their budget that we put in towards the roads or whatever. You cannot do that?
Yeah.
Absolutely, you can do it,
Shuffle.
Sandy.
We can shovel money around, yeah.
Sounds like an impeachment offense.
Oh, no, it isn't. We've been watching TV too much.
But seriously, I think
You don't really need to move the money away, you have a combined budget. You need to
Okay.
just keep your eyes
Alright.
open for that budget.
All right.
And by the way, you know,
And it is legal. I'm not
there,
asking for anything
there
illegal.
are
I don't want no problem.
there are a handful of big corporations in this community.
Yes.
U.S. Sugar being one of them. But if you go to their website, they do have a pretty big community assistance program.
And they do help.
And this is perfect for that. But you know, we're the kind of money that those guys get, you know, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. That's very good. And so I would ask that if anyone else hears about or learns about one of these programs from, you know, there's two other big, there's a Sugarcane Growers Co-op, and there's Oaklanta, and I know some, you know, some people here might know
Right,
something
yes.
about that.
Betty?
But you know, listen, it adds up.
Yeah.
You know, 10 here, 20 there,
That's right.
it adds up.
That's right.
So, okay, so now you should all have this.
Yes.
This is something we're required to do by law every year, is announce these meeting dates. Please note, these meeting dates would be adopted by a resolution, will be put on our website. They can be, and frequently are, changed. A lot of times during the summer, we'll add or delete dates for budget development workshops and things like that. But we have to put something out there.
Yes.
So this follows what we've done every year. So we, May 27th of 2020, we kick off budget development. And this year, we have 3 of the 5 board seats are up.
Yes, sir.
So seat 2, Mr. Napoli's seat is by qualified electors. So in other words, that seat will be done on election day, which is November 3rd, 2020. Also, seat 4, Ms. Miller's seat, is by electors. So those 2 seats will be voted on November 3rd, 2020.
Gotcha.
And then Bruno Naranjo's seat is seat number 3. That is a landowner's election, so that would occur on October 24th, 2020.
Gotcha.
Betty, have you heard from Bruno?
Actually, he said he was doing well. But hopefully we'll see him soon.
Okay.
He was doing a lot better. I talked to him less than a week ago.
I have one question, Mr. Tamara, in regards to C3. Are we doing that election like I did
Yes.
last year?
Yes.
Okay, okay. I'm just
Yes.
asking so I can make sure I'm,
The landowner elections, we, Central County, are
Correct.
responsible for.
That's correct.
right.
The electors is run by the
Election supervisors.
county elections.
Correct. Well, the reason why I'm asking is because last year I did all the legwork except for the collecting the votes and stuff from the landowners when they came into the clubhouse.
Mhm.
So again, am I gonna do all that or are we gonna give that all to Kisker, Miller and them to do all, cause the money was set apart for them to do the whole process.
So,
But I
what they
did
have
save
told
money
me-
by me
Yeah.
I don't believe you got enough money to make them come back.
Honestly,
Not after last
They
year.
told me they wanted, Bob told me
Yeah.
personally,
He
less than a
was-
month ago,
Yeah, he
excuse me,
was-
not no, but hell no.
Yeah, he was less than thrilled.
Yeah, he said he
For
he
sure.
don't need all this aggravation.
He does, yeah. It was because of what happened.
Yes.
He was, and I had to speak to him about 18 times because there's these accusations being
Yeah.
made. But so the way he used to explain it to me is, he comes in and he counts. He takes the ballots, counts them, and announces them. He doesn't want to do anything else.
Right, we gotta go
And what he
and
tells me is he never
look
has
at the
done.
taxes and all that
Right.
stuff.
Call Brenda Hoots and see if she wants to.
She don't want anything to do with it.
That's another double hell no.
So that you know, I personally met with her,
Yeah.
and I can tell you, she said, hell no.
So
That's
John-
what you told me.
So John, can we do this? to
Yeah,
make-
not just no.
Right.
Hell no.
Can we, work with our staff as much as possible and find out what we can implement to make it
So you still need most of it can be done except for that,
the count?
It's the scrolls and stuff.
The only,
We can't do it because we're not independent.
No.
There are some, because we do.
yeah, we can find
There's some others.
That's not hard, yeah, there's plenty.
So again, so we can,
You need to find out if they're,
That's the only thing that,
Right.
we have some time, it's a good thing, let's just try to get some budget.
my other question was about the ballots.
is there
Because
gonna
I did
be,
the ballots, except for the absent ballots. We're not doing absentee ballots,
So,
correct?
yeah, so
Or did
this-
that change, or how
we
did
gotta set
that?
up a day soon,
Mhm.
or maybe I come in here a little earlier and sit down with you.
Okay,
Because, man, those ballots are, and I know you didn't come up with them, they came, but they're bad. I mean, this is the way they're just not well thought out.
So that's what I'm
So-
saying, if we can come up with something so we can have a better
Yeah.
election, for
Yeah, we probably need to talk
But-
about
but
that.
us is-
I'll come
us will be
one
seat
day,
number
come a
3.
little earlier, we'll sit down and go over all that.
and, how you guys were gonna do the legislative next year in March, to see if we were gonna.
We're gonna try, now, so we have to find whoever who's our Hendry County representative, we have to find someone that.
No,
Ours
it's-
is
it's-
Swindle
It's
right
not
now.
Henry County though, not for legislation.
No, but in other words, we gotta get a sponsor, we have to get a legislator, a member of the state legislature,
Yeah.
to sponsor our bill. That would be our
Right.
Hendry County, whoever.
Oh, yes,
is
you
the
talked,
state-
right.
Yeah.
Not the
I
district.
forgot that, there used to be a guy forever, and he was, if you tell me his name, I remember.
He was the guy I remember was from West Palm.
Mario.
No, that's federal, this is state.
Yes, sir. What was his name? I talked to him a few times.
Yeah, really.
From Fort Myers, yeah, from West Palm. I mean.
No.
Donald Trump?
He was from here.
Hey, Caballo.
No, he was Hendry, I think he was Hendry and Glades County.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
It's all based on population.
District 80. I'm
Man,
trying to
he
remember.
was here forever.
Yes.
Joe,
I know who you're talking about, but I can't remember, but Bobby was his wife.
Oh, Joe.
Teacher.
Short guy.
Joe Spratt. Oh, no, Joe Spratt's
Yes, right.
been the local legislator here for.
I want to say something here. I mean,
25
we need
years.
to, I think we need to get on that priority, get it
Yeah.
done. Because it's a crying shame that the only place in the world is this place that you can't,
That's it.
people that can't come here can't vote absentee. You can vote for a president absentee. So we've already voted on them doing this, so we need to get after it.
Yeah. We gotta find, because if our local
I'll find you.
representative
I'll
says
find you.
no,
Yeah, that's all
then
right.
the game is over.
I'll find it.
Well, as far as I know, we were going to discuss it.
We got any
again.
cash?
We were going to discuss it because I remember that Louis and I, when we came to talk to you, the meeting was going on, you said that they had voted on it the meeting before,
Yes.
and that it had passed, but that you said that we could bring it up.
Oh, absolutely.
Because,
You mean
it should be
not-
one vote, that's what we were talking
no,
about.
that's not
That's
it.
different, that's different.
Yeah, that's
It has nothing to do with the absentee votes.
That's not
This is
it.
absentee only.
And
This is
only
absentee only,
Oh,
right.
okay.
Right.
The whole mix, that's a
Alright.
whole other.
That's a big old
Why
expensive
don't-
thing.
Yeah,
why don't we-
We've done it once already.
Why don't we
That's how we got
change
32.
all the seats to popular?
Well, let's get I'm not for that.
Why?
For the same reason I
That's
fought
not
last
what, that's
time.
not what we're talking about.
That's not what we're
No,
talking
no, I'm saying, that would eliminate all the problems with
There is no
election.
problem.
There-
Landowners
we have no
deserve
problem
a
now.
say.
There's only 4 now.
So
We have no
in other
issue.
words, you're saying that you
I'm
can
not
only
saying
win.
anything. I'm not saying
Okay,
anything.
So you're insinuating you can only win and sit here because you're a landowner and you voted on the land.
No, sir. No, I'm not saying anything.
Well, I think, so I can argue both sides of the issue.
Exactly.
I mean, I could say, you should have your name on the title of the property if you're gonna be voting on my taxes.
Yeah.
But I can also say, if you live in this community, if your address is in this community, whether you're renting, squatting, or own property, you should be allowed to vote on your representative in this community. I can make an argument for
Right.
both.
All day.
What they've done with Central County is not unusual, they split the baby.
That's why we did that.
3 seats.
That's why we did that.
Were
Landowners.
landowner and 2 seats for electors.
And we did
So
that for that reason.
They kind of split the baby. There's no magic to it.
If we switch,
And it cost us about 25 grand.
okay, if
Oh,
we
yeah.
We
switch,
spent a bunch of money on that,
Yeah.
maybe more.
Yeah.
okay, if we switch,
Mhm.
and everybody becomes electable by the public,
Right.
instead of landowner.
Right.
First of all, we eliminate the expenses of having our own elections,
Right.
okay? So, if you're gonna win one way or you're gonna win another.
If you win, you
Okay.
win. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
I have a question. If all of the seats are popular election, then anybody from Clearstone can come and run for that seat?
No, no,
If it's a popular election?
no, because
No.
when I run a popular election,
Anyone
Me
that
and her.
lives
So you
you
don't
have to live in the
So-
in the
community.
community.
So here's
You have a
another
utility
difference.
bill,
Yeah.
Right.
you have a driver's license that shows you live in an address within the Central County Water Control District.
But,
Okay.
but,
But you don't
and-
own property, you could be renting a
You
room.
exactly. So what he's saying is, so here's one scenario. You don't have to have property in Montura, and still you could rent and still run for popular vote.
That's what I meant. So that's-
Or live in a
that's-
room, live
that's
in
what
one
I
room
meant.
and
That's
determines
always
how much
the- that's
taxes
the-
us, the landowners, pay.
Exactly, but you can still run even if you're not a landowner.
Correct.
Even if you're renting, you can
Correct.
still
You're
For
absolutely
the
run
popular
for
vote,
the
yeah.
seat.
Yep.
Correct.
Now, the interesting of somebody that's renting is not gonna be no way closer to anybody that is owner.
There you go. You're
That's-
gonna look out
that's-
for your own
that's the
property,
difference.
therefore you look out for everybody else's,
That's
all
why,
together.
yeah, that's why.
I don't think it's a good idea to get everybody as a popular election.
That's why we mixed it up,
Yeah.
at a lot of cost.
That's not gonna be
Yeah.
good.
What
That's gonna be
typically
actually
happens is-
worse just for $7,500. That's what we pay for election.
7 what?
7,500. That's it.
I'll do it next time, I wanna put it in. Are you kidding, for an election?
Well, that's including, her pay for being there, everybody's
It ain't
pay.
but a day,
Yeah,
you
that'll
ain't paying for the whole
The
week.
accounting firm.
No, the accounting guys charge like
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, the ones that count the ballots, because I don't touch
We gotta
ballots.
do something different this time. Lord,
That's what I'm saying, it won't be hard to get someone to replay, that's a
Well,
nice chunk of.
7,500 is what is budget for it.
It's what, we didn't spend that though last
We
year.
didn't spend that, that's what's budget.
Why do you do that?
Most of it was Becky's overtime.
Yes.
That
Becky's
made up a big
overtime.
hole.
I know, right?
For the sake of time, John, do you have anything else?
Yes, sir. All right, so I would ask that you, I have a resolution, but enter resolution 19-11 adopting the 2020 meeting dates.
So moved. We need a second.
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 All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Vote
Resolution.
passed.
That's all I've got.
I got one thing to say quickly, real quickly,
Go ahead, go
Mr. Chair. John,
Yes, sir.
I understand what they're saying, but I think we need to take care of the voting first. We talked about that a year ago.
The absentee.
I'm gonna find our representative, I'll contact you, and I'll let you know. All right.
And there's
It's only nine.
there's a lot of exciting things
It's
for this
only
fiscal
nine.
year coming up that we need to address, not only the voting,
it's
we've
only
got
nine.
the budget, all these projects, we have the land use survey study, so wow, we're excited in Montura, so it's gonna be buzzing like a good thing.
Yeah, Lewis trying to sell a road for the South Florida water man. We're gonna impeach him.
Not even for $1 million.
So before we close the meeting, and thank you everyone for staying with us, does anybody have any questions?
I have a question. I'm getting letters every day for all my properties, so many people trying to buy them constantly,
I'll
all
buy 'em.
different people.
Yeah.
Are you getting the letters?
I get them too, yeah.
So
I'm waiting, I'm holding out another couple of years.
So what that means,
Juan is sending the letters.
So what that's telling you is your property is worth value.
Yeah, I barely get one.
And if you're gonna sell it, don't sell it to them, sell it to me. Anything else? It's a great opportunity to have property here. So again, any other questions? Anything from the guardians of the reservoir?
We good this evening?
For the moment, the only thing that we do want to bring up in time is we've discussed Central County keys,
Okay,
about the employees having keys without having to buy them.
okay.
Yeah, we need to stop.
Is that still going on, Central
I
County?
haven't given any new keys to any employees this year.
Okay,
We haven't got any.
okay.
So they weren't on the list.
I suggest
They don't
y'all
have,
start
I haven't
gearing
given
up
out
for,
any new keys to
nautical
anybody
stuff.
yet.
Last time the
Y'all start gearing up for nautical stuff.
Did it?
Yeah, I never got one.
I never.
I paid for my key.
If I get one, I'll pay for mine.
I'll pay for mine, and
I
I'll pay
won't-
for the next
I
one.
won't ask.
No, but it was a vote. There
Okay,
was a motion that supervisors were allowed to receive one key.
Okay, I want to make a motion, I want a motion on the floor before you close. Nobody gets a free key. We have a second.
I second it.
All those in favor?
You can second the motion, Mr. Sir.
Here, I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
money.
I made the
You can
motion.
do that, but you can't second a motion.
Oh, throw in that, second it, then, do we have a second then? Really?
So
We don't get any key?
No key. I
Denied.
bought
Yeah, I
mine.
never got mine.
We have to
I
leave-
don't have anything to
My,
show.
my personal opinion is we have to lead by example.
Yeah.
We as the board have to lead by example, and also they're on the board, they don't get any special privilege, they don't get a key.
I
So,
second it.
Louis? Okay, thank you. All those in favor?
aye,
Why am I doing that? I'm not the chair anymore.
pass. He's usurping authority. You see how he does the usurping authority?
He did not get a second on his motion.
She said.
Second it.
He said yes.
All right. With that being said, meeting is dismissed. Thank you, everyone.
Running the reservoir, don't